All right, what's going on, everybody? Cryptix here. Seems like I may be a little bit more consistent here on the second channel. And I made a video maybe like 3 or 4 months back. And I basically posed the question, why are video games getting so boring? Then I dissected it, went into some detail, but I've been thinking about this still. Like, it's been about 6 months since I've really like gone in deep to really think about like what actually happened to video games. Why am I only enjoying like Call of Duty Warzone with the boys like recently? And I think there's some additional things that I just want to touch on and just, hit home the point on, why video games just feel so stale right now. So before we jump into the rest of the video, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. Let's aim for 100 likes on this video. That would make my day. All right. So basically, there's a bunch of different types of video games, right? Sports video games, first person shooter, RPG video games, card collecting games, the list goes on. I'm not going to be able to sit here for a couple hours just to go through everything that's wrong with every single type of genre of video game, right? But I think it's important to note that there are a handful of genres that really follow this similar approach when it comes to maximizing profits while coming out with low quality video games and products in general. So let's break down the sports video game genre. I've touched base on this briefly, but there is so much more that I could go off on because I grew up with sports video games, right? Basically, what's been going on with like Madden, FIFA, 2K, they're all video games that come out every single year, aka an annualized release, right? And what I've been seeing progressively as the years go on is that skill gap has declined while monetization, whether it's third-party product placements, advertisements in the loading screens, the list can go on for that as well. But one thing that I noticed is that skill gap is increasingly getting worse by increasing certain sliders to make you feel good about yourself, to succeed, to score that goal, to get that touchdown, to score that three-point green light shot in NBA 2K. And every sports video game that's out right now, they basically will make the user feel really good about themselves, but at the same time, they'll also increase the prices for certain things so you can have a good experience. So the games are already $60 to begin with every single year. The only thing that really changes is maybe an animation or two and then roster updates, right? For all sports video games, that's basically what it is in a nutshell. But yeah, the pricings to actually get a my player or some type of created player maxed out, especially in 2K, it's been getting increasingly more expensive as the years go on. And this is obviously done by design because they know, like, every sports video game, EA, 2K, whoever it is, they know people are going to buy the new one because it's similar to the Call of Duty titles. Like, everyone buys Call of Duty and a sports video game that they like every single year. That's just like what people do. But the sports video games right now are at an all-time low, in my opinion. And viewership for them is also at an all-time low because skill gap is just non-existent. You have more skill in, aiming down your sights in a Call of Duty game right now than you do trying to score a goal or, hitting that three-point shot or scoring a touchdown. It's gotten so easy in sports video games that like 6 or 7-year-olds can pick up the controller and still dominate you because it's just so easy and it relies on RNG, randomized number generator, or just randomized animations per se in key moments so the user can win or the user may lose. And a lot of this RNG based stuff, like the randomized animations for all sports video games, they all have an algorithm. And I've gone over this with 2K on my main channel. I've gone over it multiple times, but even EA has a patent, and these patents basically skew the RNG based animations to a certain user for the majority of the game. So if you're feeling like your players are slow, or you're feeling like your opponent accomplished something that wasn't supposed to happen, well, lo and behold, there's RNG based patents in sports video games specifically, and just foremost And that's why a lot of people are just had enough of it. The RNG based animations, the random animations are all part of the patent and the algorithm to make you feel like, oh, you just came this close to beating your opponent. Maybe if you get that extra card in FIFA, that extra card in my team, that extra, attribute boost on your player, then maybe you would have beaten them. But it's all by design, and they're doing it to maximize profits, right? So I guess that's sports video games. You know what I mean? Like, it's just gotten so dry and so stale, and it's so blatantly obvious that the companies are trying to maximize the opportunity for the algorithm to really hit an effect that no one really cares anymore. They're just like, oh, well, of course, 2K, FIFA, Madden, they're going to let this player win because he spent more money on packs, or he, spent more money on his player. And it's just not fun. You know what I mean? Like, that's why sports video games are boring as of right now. Now, if we move into the other types of genres, right? For example, RPGs, like the role-playing games, the storyline games. There are some decent ones out there. Don't get me wrong, right? There are a good handful chunks of games that really follow a similar type of structure. Ghost of Tsushima was a really good game. I actually liked it. The Assassin's Creed games are following, or I guess you really can't even say Assassin's Creed is following the Ghost of Tsushima formula, but I guess a lot of those open world RPGs, they're also kind of stale, and they go into one of two categories, right? The first one is it's single player based, and it's got an elaborate storyline. You can actually have fun and, beat the game at a high difficulty if you practice hard enough. And I can't really think of all the role-playing video games off the top of my head, but I think a good example, and maybe some of my viewers are a little bit older, the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic games, those fall into the RPG storyline category that I'm talking about. The single player based, you can have fun, you can dominate, you can really strategize to make sure that your character is maxed out in a lot of situations in order to win those battles. And you can even be smart and strategic with stealthy type of gameplay as well. Like Ghost of Tsushima, that does, if you're stealthy, it goes leaps and bounds beyond what your capabilities are. And those are fun single player role playing games. But there's this whole other category, and it's monetary based. Maybe the game is free, it's one of those online services, and you have to level up the player, but you can have a shortcut in leveling up the player if you spent money on virtual coins or XP blocks, whatever it is, to make your character maxed out really quickly. It's a time versus money scenario, and if you don't want to spend the time grinding in this other category of RPGs, I want to make that very clear, then you're basically shit out of luck. You're going to have to spend money in order to max out the character. I think a good example of this is actually that new Avengers game that came out. Yeah, sure, it was fun the first, few days, right? But then you saw the, character progression was getting slower and slower and slower. I think it's Square Enix that created that game. They came out with a new update basically making the grind perspective even harder. So if you want to if you don't want to spend any money on these, upgrades for the characters, then you're going to be spending even more time. I think it's 150% extra time trying to get that Hulk maxed out, or that Iron Man maxed out, or the Captain America maxed out. And that's a slap in the face. And I'm not going to waste my time trying to level up Hulk because some company wants me to spend money on the game. That's the other RPG storyline category that I just am not a fan of. And also the enemies are so repetitive. And I believe the game is at an all-time low. You hardly see any people on the Steam charts for that particular game. What I'm talking about is Marvel Avengers. And yeah, that's an RPG type of game that is just basically dead because the users and fan base, they're like, well, what the hell, Square Enix? I'm not spending a ridiculous amount of money to make my beloved characters that I enjoy from the MCU maxed out. I'll just, focus my time elsewhere. That's another thing, right? So the time versus money scenario, we're seeing a bunch of companies do that with, profitizing, or is that even a word? I don't know, man. It's been a long day. But you know what I mean. They're basically trying to monetize the crap out of a lot of video games. And sports are no different. RPGs are no different for the most part. There are a good handful of them. And I think the other category is just competitive multiplayer, right? And I don't think competitive multiplayer, when I think of that, I think of like League playing Call of Duty, which is, I think, still got some skill to it. Fortnite, those types of games. There are a good chunk of it. Apex, you know what I mean? Like, those games are like the games that are surviving right now. Those are the games that are fun, right? Those games, you basically have to like hone on your craft and really get better. And that's why you're seeing Fortnite. That's why you're seeing Apex. That's why you're seeing Call of Duty top on the charts for Twitch, because it's actually enjoyable to watch and the user has to be skilled in order to beat their opponent. It's not like in 2K where I can just, shoot a half court green and yeah, cool, like anyone can do that. It's pretty easy. But in Call of Duty, in Warzone, you have to be pretty skilled in like, being aggressive and timing when you need to pursue somebody, or, the angle that you get on them. You have to know the map pretty well. You have to know which gun you're using. You have to know the recoil on the gun. You have to know your strengths and weaknesses. There's so many variables in like a competitive online game like Apex, like Call of Duty Warzone, like League play for Call of Duty, and even Fortnite. Like, those are the games that are surviving right now because you don't need to spend money to get good. In fact, you have to actually grind in order to get good, but not too much to the point that it's just like unbearable, like Marvel's Avengers. You know what I mean? So that's basically like why I think video games are getting so stale. I think they're getting boring. I think the monetization has just been so apparent in a lot of titles that I used to enjoy as a kid. And yeah, man, I'm just kind of skewed towards Warzone with the boys, and that's just like where I'm at right now. So I hope you all did enjoy this video. I hope it was somewhat insightful. I want to hear what your thoughts are about video games being so stale in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like. Let's aim for 100 likes on this vid. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. I'm Cryptix, not wasting my life on a video game that forces me to spend money. And signing off.